Hi, and welcome to News in Depth. I'm Adam Lowenstein. Thanks for tuning in. On today's episode, we'll head to the South Animal Care and Adoption Center for a look at how one category of dogs, the bully breeds, are filling the cages there in disproportionate amounts. We'll explain why this is happening. We'll visit Meridian Center on US 1 in Melbourne, one of the newest buildings on the Space Coast, and one of just 16 in Brevard to be registered with the U.S. Green Building Council's Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design Green Building Rating System, thankfully also just known as LEED. Then we'll head north for the sights and sounds of an increasingly common event in these economic times, the auction. It's been a busy stretch for auctioneers, and we'll talk to one who's been swinging the gavel and offering that unique banter for more than 3 decades. And of course, we'll have your video hurricane tip of the week. This one is about the emergency pet shelters available during major storms and the importance of registering your pet in case he or she goes missing. But first up today, we have 2 reports from our colleagues at Cram Session on the Air. Parents, how many of you have talked about how back in your day, you walked to school in your bare feet over hot coals and through blizzards, often on the same trip? Something like that is unfolding in Titusville, where 12-year-old Michaela Kluwer walks 1.8 miles to Jackson Middle School each morning by herself, crossing the busy 7-lane State Road 50, walking within blocks of numerous sex offenders, and even near a slew of barking dogs. It takes her more than 30 minutes each way. Brevard County School Board policy and Florida state law state that anyone living less than 2 miles from their school must find their own transportation, and the board has to follow that law in order to receive state funding for busing. That means other children in Michaela's neighborhood who live just a few blocks away end up taking the 5-minute bus ride while she walks. We recently joined her on her daily trek.
Well, from walking, you're all sweaty and it's all hot, so you try to go into the bathroom and clean up a little bit, and then you're still hot throughout the day and kind of stink, I guess, what you could say.
Michaela goes to Andrew Jackson Middle School in Titusville. I believe we're about 1.8 miles from the school, according to how the school measures. It's very unsafe for her to walk. She has to cross Highway 50, which is very busy. There is no cross guard. There's a button you can push, tells you when to walk, but we found out that a lot of people don't always, stop when they're supposed to. Just a few weeks ago, there was a little boy that was crossing the intersection on his bicycle with the push button, time to walk sign. He got struck by a car and was actually airlifted out of the Kmart parking lot to Arnold Palmer with severe injuries. There's been over a dozen, I believe, since the beginning of the year. Was told by the school that, we actually do have a bus that comes in our neighborhood that picks up kids that actually live at the 2-mile mark. We were told that she would be allowed to ride the bus if we wanted to pay $2 a day. To me, that is, unacceptable. If there's, a bus already here, she should be, able to ride it, not have to pay when there's an open seat.
Then my grandparents, they wanted me to do this route, so they took me up and down it a couple of times so I could get used to it. So they went up and down it twice, telling me which street to turn on and all that. And then they'd go back 2 more times, and I'd have to tell them which way to go and all that, so I can remember which way to go, because knowing me, if I don't go up and down anything or learn it or memorize it, I'll get lost.
Main concern is safety. It's a long walk. We do have a lot of child predators in the area that we have done a search on. I believe she would pass 47 on the way to school. It's unacceptable. No kid should have to, walk and go through that and be afraid and not have anybody to walk with. As time changes, it's going to get darker quick. She can't be a part of any after-school activities, for having to be home so late. It's not right. My fears for her safety, and she shouldn't be set apart from everyone else. She should be able to get on that bus when there's room. If there's room, a kid should be able to ride, regardless if it's her or somebody else. People pay taxes. What are we paying taxes for? All but a handful to ride. Because they are, a few feet from the 2-mile mark. It's ridiculous. Of course, you can't really put a price on your child's safety. If it was $100 a day, I would find some way somehow to come up with it. But don't feel I should have to when there is room for her, you know, and just because our physical address is not quite at that mark, you know, that she would have to pay.
And then here comes these evil dogs. Vicious. Okay, I'm finally here. My walk is done. I have to wait outside for another 15 minutes in the heat. Yep, we're done.
Hi, I'm Megan Downs with Cram Session on the Air, your source for education news in Brevard County. Now that you've seen the video with Michaela Kluwer's walk to school, we're here with Brevard Public Schools Transportation Director, Mike Connors. He's going to speak with us a little bit about the busing policy, so we understand a little bit about the district's stance on Michaela's walk to school, as well as the walk for thousands of other students in the district. Can you tell us why that 2-mile policy exists and what that means for the district in terms of funding and things like that?
Sure, Megan. First, safety of students it's a very big concern of ours on the school bus always, as well as getting to and from school. But in the state of Florida, they do have a policy. It's a state statute that they only fund school districts for those students eligible for transportation, those that live exactly 2 miles or more from their school. And in Brevard County, we withhold that very, very strictly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Michaela's family feels a little bit unsafe about her route to school. She crosses US 50 and things like that, but you have determined that it is safe. Can you tell us why, that route is safe, or what you look at to determine whether something's safe?
Megan, in the state of Florida, they do have a hazardous walking statute. It applies only to elementary schools, not to secondary schools, and it contains some very specific guidelines and procedures that you have to look at to determine if an area is hazardous for an elementary student. And in the case of this student, there are no conditions that exist that would qualify this walk to be a hazardous walk to school.
And what are some of those conditions that you be looking at?
It could be a traffic count over 4,000 cars a minute. It could be a crossing area where there's absolutely no control devices, and that includes the pedestrian light or pedestrian switch that you have to cross. So with those types of things in place, then that intersection is deemed to be appropriate for pedestrians.
Okay, and as we see, there's always a handful of students that come in with complaints each year, and the district sort of came up with a policy to incorporate those students who lived below the 2-mile limit but wanted to get a bus ride to school. How does that work, and how do you use that?
That's right. Megan, last year there was a school board member that felt very strongly we should do a little bit more for these students that are just inside the 2 miles. And their parents wanted them on the school bus. So the school board adopted the fee-based policy where students can pay a minimal fee and with space available on the bus, be placed on the bus and transported to and from school. Now this allows us to actually provide the transportation. We get absolutely no funding from the state, so this just barely covers what it actually cost us to transport that student.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about busing costs? How have they gone up lately. What's the expense been like to the district
Sure.
in recent years?
Well, the biggest expense is, of course, the purchase of a school bus. 7 years ago, they may have been $30,000 or $40,000. Now they're reaching the area of $100,000. And we need to replace buses each year. The cost of diesel fuel is a big concern of ours. Because of a price drop in diesel, that really helped our school budget last year. Those are two huge costs. Of course, the other one is salaries of bus drivers, both the salary and the benefits. When you roll all that together, transportation is a fairly large cost to a school district.
Mm-hmm. Which is why, for students that live under that 2-mile mark, what kind of cost would that be to the district if you included them?
If we took just those students that live between 2 and 1.5 miles to school, and we allowed them to ride a school bus, it would add an additional cost to the district of anywhere between $2 million and $4 million. And particularly at this economic time, with the budgets the way they are, there is no way we could do it.
Okay, well, thanks for stopping in with us. We really appreciate
It's
meeting
my
with
pleasure,
you.
Megan. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thanks again. Guess we'll head back to you now, Adam.
Thanks, Megan. Michaela's family is still fighting the ruling and hopes the school board will rethink its policy. They are waiting for a response from Superintendent Brian Bingley. Now be sure to check for updates on this and other education stories at our Cram Session blog and at www.floridatoday.com/education. Do you remember those barking dogs along Michaela's walk? Multiply that scene and sound many times over, and you'll have a sense of what it's like at the South Animal Care and Adoption Center these days. Most of the barking is coming from a preponderance of bully breeds, which include bulldogs, bull mastiffs, and maybe the most notorious breed, the pit bull terrier. More than 60% of the dogs at the shelter now are in that category, as several factors, including the mistaken notion that pit bulls cannot be good family pets, are contributing to the glut.
Sorry, baby. See, he's unsure, wagging his tail. If he was that aggressive, he'd have let me know already to back up. He's just very unsure. Another intact male. What do you do, boy? And being in this type of environment is very stressful for any animal. It's stressful for the workers, you know. But I'd say any given period, at least 60 to 65% of our dog population is probably bully breeds. There's lots of things that play into why they're a popular breed, and they are a high population of shelter. Many reasons. Today's economy is one. Pit bulls are pretty, I hate to put it this way, they're an inexpensive dog to purchase at most places. You can pull up an article in a newspaper, find a pit bull puppy for under $200. That's a bargain to folks who want to get a dog. You know, they're not looking for any breed specific, or maybe they are and they go there and they get what they think they're buying as a purebred pit bull. But again, there's no way to determine that. People are sending them to the shelter or cutting them loose to fend for themselves because they don't want to feel that they don't want to feel guilty for leaving the animal at the shelter, you know, because it leads to everybody's misconception that dropping an animal off at the shelter right away it's going to be put to sleep or humanely euthanized. It's not the case. If that was the case here at this facility, we wouldn't be so overloaded or overcrowded. But typically, you know, these dogs, unfortunately, people treat them like they're very expendable, especially the bully breeds. They are a good family dog if they're raised right. Any dog, no matter what breed, can be a great family dog, a great dog in general. Socialization, you know, things like that.
Now, if you're interested in meeting some of these pooches for possible adoption, go to brevardanimalservices.com and click on the Adoptable Pets link on the left side of the page. So from one type of shelter to another, albeit one that's a bit quieter and more spacious than where we just were. The 70,000 square foot Meridian Center, which opened earlier this year on US 1 at the Pineda Causeway, has river views, ample parking, and things a tad more uncommon, like 0 dual flush toilets and shade coefficients regarding its windows. The building is headquarters to BRPH, an architecture and engineering firm that also built it. We recently got a tour from senior architect Shad Traylor.
The Meridian Office Building is an example of a LEED corn shell, which it stands for CS, a rating system that is under the guidelines of the Leadership for Energy and Environmental Design LEED guidelines, which was used for this project, and we were able to accomplish a certified rating. Some of the examples that we are showing today are the storm mitigation aspects of the building that with our enhanced hurricane protection of our 10-inch concrete panels, as well as our laminated windows with a high shading coefficient, are fine examples of the LEED characteristics of this project. Also, this project accomplished several rating points for the energy and atmosphere aspects because of the high benefits for the design of the mechanical system. Also included are aspects such as certified wood that was used within the project, as well as the regional and recycled content aspects of the project as well. That we really promoted the regional materials because it reduces the carbon footprint of the building as it is being constructed, as well as the recycled content. Some of the items within this building is the high recycled content of the steel, which is approximately 85%, as well as ceiling tiles, which is around 50%. And some of the additional aspects is the tenant guidelines that be used for future tenant improvements, that we are creating the tenant guidelines to promote the LEED aspects of future tenants.
BRPH says the Meridian Center is the first office building built to LEED standards in Brevard. Office buildings, houses, small shops, all have been home to auctions lately, as the weakened economy joins personal issues like divorce as major factors in these sell-offs. It is one of the business world's most Darwinian events, as those who cannot survive often benefit those who are surviving. That was the case at a recent auction in Titusville, where a print shop was closing and selling its equipment.
Tell me where you want to begin, guys. If I'm going to tell me 800, 600, 400, where you want to go for? Give me $200, get it started. On that cutter. 200, where do we go? 202? 2. Now we say 2. Yeah, down 3. Back 200, down 3. Hey, you go 3, where do we go 3, 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 2 and 3, and 2 and a half. Hey, 200 down, 2 and a half, do we go 2 and a half, 200, 2 and a half, do we go 2 and a half, 200, 2 and a half. Last call, 200, 2 and a half. Sold $200, buyer number 33, buyer 33.
I'm Cliff Schuler Auctioneers and Liquidators. We're out of Titusville, Florida. We've been in the auction business 32 years. We're here liquidating this print shop. It was involved in a divorce, and the lady had loaned all the money on this property. So we're here to sell it off and to get her out of here. For a print shop, most probably about normal for the economy. It definitely wasn't a big crowd. We're used to big crowds, but for considering a print shop, and we hadn't done a print shop in about 3 or 4 years. So.
100, 100. Any interest? How much? $50. 50, now 75. 75, now 100. 75 to get 100. Hit the 100, now 125. 100, now 125 to get 1.5.
I've been an auctioneer for 24 years for Mr. Schuler, and bankruptcies are getting really busy right now. There's a lot of people going out. Small businessman's the one that's taking it the worst. And it's just rough to see, because the individual business people, it's hard on them. Family support and everything else. And if they got employees, then there's people without jobs, and it makes it rough on everybody. So hopefully it'll get better.
Sold $110, buyer number 1087. 1087.
If you've got the auction bug, Cliff Schuler is holding what he calls Florida's largest consignment and bankruptcy auction on September 20th in Titusville. And last but not least today, it's your handy-dandy Hurricane How-To video. This week, we focus on emergency animal shelters and the importance of getting your pet registered at the Humane Society. Take a look.
As hurricane season approaches, it is a good time to register your pet at an emergency pet shelter in your county. Brevard County has 2 pet-friendly shelters that will be open for those in evacuation zones. They are the Port St. John Community Center, located at 6650 Corto Road in Cocoa, and the Viera Regional Community Center at 2300 Judge Fran Jamison Way in Viera. Also, register your pet with the Central Brevard Humane Society, located at 1020 Cox Road in Cocoa. Proof of residence, vaccinations, license tags, veterinarian contact info, and a current photo of your pet is required.
Well, that's our show for this week. I'm Adam Lowenstein. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we hope to see you then.